Carl and Dan here from Brrraains A Head-Banging Life, gbhblofficial for sure. And it's track by track time as we go to Harakiri for the Sky and their third album, 3 Trauma, released in 2016 from the Austrian post-black metal band. One of my favorite genres of metal is post anything, but post-black metal, baby, if you're doing that well, you can turn me on. And here, Harakiri for the Sky do it very well, in my opinion. However, I did choose this track by track, kind of on the basis that I was like, well, this could be torturous for Dan, because it is 10 plus minutes of elaborate post-black metal. Things, an element that he may not be the biggest fan of, but there's songs in this that have a prettiness and an elaboration that he might enjoy. So, Dan, sum up simply, did you have a good time with this record?
No.
Oh, that's such a shame.
No, I could tell instantly. I tried to come at it with a very open mind. There's a lot for me to enjoy, and there's lots that I did enjoy. But as a kind of body of work of an hour and 15 minutes of 8 songs, no.
It is a long one, admittedly. I kind of got the length before I submitted it, and then I was like, oh shit, it's a fairly long one. But we'll get through it. We'll get through it. You can offer your thoughts from that. Opening with Call in the Rain. The longest track on the album, this one immediately hits me right in the feels. The melody is cold and heartfelt. The eventual kick-up of metal just enhances the emotion. The arrival of vocals and a shift in guitar tone lets the black metal side of the band breathe, but this is a heavily layered track, and the underlying beauty is ever present. At nearly 11 and a half minutes, it could be drawn out, but in my opinion, it actually flies by.
I really like a lot of the melodic piano elements kind of woven into it. The vocals don't do tons for me personally.
Okay.
But I really like a lot of the lyrics. And when a track picks up in intensity, it becomes a lot more enjoyable for me. A massive fan of the Fuck This Life and the solo that comes with it. I disagree. I do not think this song needs to be 11 minutes long, but it is what it is.
Yeah, you might. Yeah, I can understand some as well. You have that thought where you feel like it could be cut here and there. It's completely understandable. There's a wandering style to this type of music, particularly what Harakiri for the Sky do. Funeral Dreams. So this was the first track I heard by this band. It was the first track I ever heard by them, and it's still one of my favorite today. The opening gambit of energy, the explosive heaviness and groovy riff work is brilliantly infectious. However, the big selling point is how it all comes together and pounds the mind into submission. One of my favorite.
It's quite instantly like more up my street with the driving lead guitar and blast beats. I really enjoy the almost like beatdown-esque bit they've got at about 1 minute 50 in the song, which I thought was really cool. I think it's a strong track, but I mean, 9 minutes long, man.
Get used to that. Get used to that. It isn't changing. I get it. Thanatos. Slowing the pace down here. The melody is comforting and Harakiri add more layers as it goes on. The stature of this track growing until a sound of drum cymbals announce a massive change in direction. The pace increases and the track evolves into something wilder, faster, and heavier. This is all kinds of kick-ass. The blend of black post melody and heavier rock groove works brilliantly for me.
The song doesn't do loads for me. I feel like the vocals are really, really quiet and not kind of punchy enough for me. But I enjoy the melodic elements and the kind of lead pans they've got going on.
I'm glad you're enjoying some parts of it, though. At least you're getting something rather than sitting going, oh, I fucking hate this.
Yeah, no, I always try and kind of find things I like, even if it's not like a strong body work for me overall. There's always something I can pick out and be like, that was cool.
Cool. This Life is a Dagger. Darker and heavier. This is a track that really fits the trauma title, as the black and heaviness is quite traumatic. It's a little bit horrible, a little bit nasty, a whole lot of bleakness. This one grinds the mind down with the heel of intense post-black metal. A strong example of how Harakiri for the Sky balance heaviness and melodic misery so well.
I said I could see this being a proper pit opener of a track with those low tune guitars. I feel like live I'd get right into this.
Yeah.
Not for a whole song because that'd be like 10 minutes. But it doesn't do loads for me, but I like parts of it.
Fair enough. This Trace As We Leave, it's certainly what cuts through here. The drums dictating the pace, the guitars lightening the load, and the vocals serving as a hellish choir. The shifting tone, pace adaptations, and flowing nature makes this a particularly harsh sounding black metal heavy number. So I thought this was notably different.
Yeah, the pianos and the drums on this track really kind of shine and stand through. Especially that kick drum. It's so there, it's so driving. The crash cymbals seem to be like really tucked into the mix, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. More just something I noticed. And yeah, like as an album, or as this song off an album, this one's probably the one I enjoyed the most.
Oh, cool. All right. Vietcom. The intent for speed is made clear from the start here. The riff's ready in the mind for something quite intense. The build is incredible. And when it does eventually change gear, it explodes with life. The vocals howl here. The development of this track is what I love overall, though. And the post rhythm that slowly infects my mind till it feels like I'm totally in tune with this. This is my favorite track on the album.
Oh, I think this is where this album started to really lose me. It felt like a lot of the same thing. And when each track is like 10 minutes long, it can become a slog to get through if it's not like your favorite thing in the world. Because you have to be interested in this sort of stuff. You know, like I wouldn't like Death Heaven's album if I didn't like the kind of music they make.
Right.
Ordinary Corrupts Human Love. You know, there's like a track that's like 11 minutes on that, and I think it's great. But that is just me.
No, I understand it. Bear in mind, like I said at the start, we're going into this album, this track by track, with me, not to say having knowledge of the album but also being a massive fan. Like, we're not just saying like I like post-black metal. It's one of my favorite genres of metal. So, you know.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
All right, the penultimate track, Dry the River. The emotion in this track is palatable, and I find this one quite heartfelt. The melody is one thing, but the black and harshness is another. It smashes the senses when it crops up. But for the most part, this is a track all about the melody. And I actually enjoy that change up at this point in the album, kind of focused on that melody.
There's parts of this track that I really enjoy. Like halfway through I really get into, but overall this song feels quite uninspired to me. I feel like I've heard this sort of thing before, especially with this kind of music. But
probably on this
I don't
album.
know if that's just me. It might be just the album. Like I've been listening to it for a while at this point. So
I completely understand that exhaustion does begin to set in. It does, even for me.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I started to feel quite exhausted by Bury Me, the finale. It's setting in, because unsurprisingly, it's one last mammoth effort. Harakiri for the Sky getting us over the line somehow, delivering admittedly one last grand melodic and post-heavy black number that has an uplifting touch, but finds its ultimate strength in the melody. I wasn't unhappy to see it end, put it that way.
Yeah, I think this song is pretty fucking great, to be honest. With a lot more of those melodic lead elements coming through and really shining. Especially when it comes to the like really frantic verse 3 minutes in, where the vocalist is shouting like "bury me" over and over again. It's quite emotionally charged, and I'm a big fan of this one.
Oh, good. Well, I'm glad you found some things to enjoy in it, and some tracks that you liked. That's good for them, I guess, that they managed to help win you over to that.
Yeah, I feel like it strays from that post black metal genre a bit on this track. I feel like there's definitely elements of other stuff here.
I would agree. I'd say there's as much atmospheric notions here, as well as sort of naturalistic as well, elements like that too. And although it's black metal, it isn't exclusively black metal, as you recognize what black metal is, be it a more first wave, second wave element either. That's why I think they're an intriguing band that not enough people know about, if I'm honest, really.
Yeah, I hadn't heard of them before.
Yeah, they've got more albums. It's the third album, and they've had albums out since Trauma as well. But all right, top 3 tracks. I'll go first. Funeral Dreams, Thanatos, and Viet to Come.
The Traces We Leave, Bury Me. Sorry.
That one.
Funeral Dreams.
Okay, we matched up with Funeral Dreams at least. I'm glad the Funeral Dreams is there because that was the first track that I ever heard. So it's cool for that to come into it. That's 3 Trauma by Harakiri for the Sky. You got any thoughts on what we've said here? You got any thoughts on the album yourself? You know what to do. Let us know in the comments.
Thank you very much for watching. If you liked what you saw, please help us out by giving us a thumbs up and hitting that subscribe button. If you really liked what you saw, consider donating to keep the website and channel running by buying us a coffee via our coffee page or picking up some merch from our Big Cartel store. You can check us out on gbhbl.com as well as via our social media, Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, as well as listen to our interviews via SoundCloud, Apple Music and Spotify. Just search for GBHBL. Games, horror and heavy metal. What else is life for?